Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video we are going to look at a brand new product from the company Streamlight. Now Streamlight has been coming out with their offerings for the 2021 year, and at this point we have a brand new flashlight called the Wedge. Now the Wedge is a flashlight that has a completely different look and form factor from pretty much any other flashlight I've seen, but even more so, the overall function might be just a little bit different. Now, granted, it's a flashlight. It's supposed to beam light, right? Yeah, well, it's the actual mechanism and the switch that's a little bit different from anything else I've seen, as well as the overall shape and size. So today we're going to get a first look at this. I haven't even opened the box yet, but I'm pretty excited to see what we have here. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Streamlight who did provide this product for review. Now again, here we have the Streamlight Wedge. Opening up here, it's hard for me to say by the initial look at it if this is the actual factory packaging, but regardless, taking it out here, flashlight, charging cable, and a small lanyard. Not a whole lot to it. And taking a look at the flashlight here, oh, very cool. So this is in almost a coyote color. So as you can see here, a very nice color. I do greatly enjoy this. So in coyote, really, really cool. And you'll notice that's the first thing on the form factor here, not quite the usual shape as other flashlights. And the first thing that catches my attention, a deep ride pocket clip. So a full deep ride pocket clip on a flashlight, that is not always the norm. So real neat. The overall form factor here being quite thin. You can see as you look down the profile here, the lens, and then the overall shape and size, not terribly large. In fact, kind of the size of many of my pocket knives. Like for example, I just happen to be carrying this concept knife here. So pretty similar in overall profile. Very, very neat. So yeah, this Wedge here definitely catching my attention for a unique sort of look and form factor right off the bat. Now, holding it in my hands, this is going to index very nicely. You can see here, this is the switch. So remember, one of the first things I said is the overall functionality, and really the mechanism's going to be a little bit different than other flashlights. Well, the switch here, clicking it on, there are a couple of different modes, but let's see. Long press. Nope. Is this locked out? I don't know. Does it need to be charged first? Probably. So far, nothing. So that's the first thing. I got to kind of figure out a little bit what's going on. I'll be right back. So connecting this up real quick to the charger, first you'll see that light there does indicate red. So it is in the charging state now, and you'll notice that this does take a USB Type-C connector. Now this one I just had here and I'm using it, but it does come with a USB Type-C cable, which is nice. But moving forward here, I will probably need to charge this before the initial use. So that means even to demonstrate the light at this point, I kind of need to get this thing a little bit of juice. So far, it's actually non-responsive in terms of turning on. So let's give this a little bit. I'll get some charging going on here, get a little juice into the batteries, and then we'll pick it up from there. And so while we're waiting for this to charge, I figured I could go through some of the specifications. So this light does utilize two lighting modes. One is a constant on, and the other is what they're calling the throw mode. So a THRO, temporarily heightened regulated output mode for the maximum brightness. Now the typical mode on this is 300 lumens at a 69 meter beam distance and runs for around 3 hours. And the throw mode is a 1000 lumen output at a 110 meter beam distance for a 35-second burst. So that's the first thing to consider, is you will be a little bit limited in terms of the length of that throw mode, but at the same time, good output at 300 lumens and at 3 hours of runtime. So the main mode there being definitely very useful. Again, this does have a battery indicator right built into the switch. So it is red while it's charging. This will turn green when it's ready. The beautiful anodized machined aluminum, gorgeously done here in the Coyote. I do absolutely love this color. And now, as I mentioned, this is a USB Type-C connector, which I greatly enjoy. If you've been following my channel, you realize that I've been talking about trying to standardize to USB Type-C across all devices and including my flashlights. So this is a very nice feature in my opinion. Now, as you look, as I mentioned, the first thing that caught my attention was this clip. So the deep ride pocket clip, well, this is set up for right-hand carry. What if you're a lefty? Imagine that, a flashlight set up for right-hand or left-hand dominant carry. That is crazy. I mean, what are we getting into? No, actually, very cool, and I'm glad that Streamlight thought of this. So for a flashlight in this particular form factor, to run it right-hand or left-hand, that is definitely very cool. As you can see, indexing nicely, it is about the perfect size for my hands. You'll see a couple different grip points. It almost has jimping built into the anodized aluminum there. So even though it is a little bit slick on the sides, you will notice that there are some strategic points for grip. And that does index very well. And it allows me to flip the switch on and off. And so now, as you can see, the Wedge is fully charged, so the green indicator there. Now, one thing that I think is a little bit interesting is, well, when you go to turn the light on, if it is plugged in, it will not work. So that's the first thing. And you'll notice even in that turbo mode, pushing forward, this will not turn on. However, unplugging the light, well, now you see it does turn on. So here, that is the standard operating mode. And as we long press here, that is the turbo. So now at this point, let's get this outside and let's see the beam quality in the dark. So the Streamlight Wedge, very simple here. Just flicking the switch forward. Well, here's your 300 lumen output. And as you can see, a nice quality beam, reasonably even, without a super defined hotspot. Now there is a little bit of a hotspot, but it is not overly defined. And then pushing forward into the turbo mode, that's your 1000 lumen output. And here, beaming very nicely, you can see quite bright and almost equally as even of a beam, which I do like. I like the fact that it's not a super defined hotspot. It's actually reasonably floody, which is a nice thing. Now, in terms of a way to gauge beam distance, here I am in my driveway, roughly 80 feet away from my house. Flicking the switch forward, well, this here, that is the 300 lumen low output. Making it all the way down my driveway, you can see illuminating the vehicles a little bit, but not too much on the house. But pushing forward with the 1000 lumens, well, here you go, lighting it up quite nice. Nice wide beam and doing a great job to illuminate very wide. And zooming in a little closer on the house, you can really see the difference. So off, on 300 lumens, and pushing forward, there's your 1000 lumen output. Quite a nice beam. Now, to be honest, I do like the 300 lumen output, but I do find it is just a little bit bright. I think Streamlight could have gotten away with a little bit less, maybe 150 lumens, and that would have been a little bit better. Now, my eyes are starting to adjust, but I do find that the 300 lumen output is just a little bit bright for general navigation, which is how I would tend to use this light. And in fact, if you were to dumb it down, you would have a little bit better battery life overall. And I guess my point is, most of the time what I'm going to use my flashlights on the low mode for is either navigating around or trying to find something like under the couch. So that to me is more light than you need. If you look at how bright that sort of hot beam is, I really don't need that much light generally. And I'd almost rather have, I would say, a little bit less overall lumen output and better battery life on the low mode. That's just my personal opinion. And so that just leads to my comments on what you need each one of the modes for. So for me, generally on the low mode, well, that's simply going to be for navigation or searching for something that doesn't need a high lumen output. But that high mode, or the turbo on this particular model, that to me is going to be what I use for illuminating out into the distance, something that's, you know, a little bit further away, or I just need a good quality beam of light. So going to the modes and the output selection, personally for me, I do think that the lower mode would be better off in a slightly lower lumen output. And then the high mode or turbo, that's definitely perfect in the thousands. So overall, a good light, but in my opinion, could use a little bit of an adjustment in the lumen output. So all right guys, there you have it, a look at this Wedge flashlight from Streamlight. Again, I'd like to say thank you very much to the people at Streamlight for providing this full review. All in all, I definitely like this. And if you didn't notice by the length of my beard, at this point I've been carrying this light for a couple weeks since the beginning of this video. And I do have to say I greatly enjoy it. Now, a couple of things. First and foremost, I'm glad to see a change in the typical form factor. This has been wonderful. It definitely melts away in my pocket. I love the deep ride pocket clip. And when you really look at how this fits, it is just wonderful. So sitting there perfectly nice and flush next to my pocket knife, working very well, and it's super clean and easy to get in and out of my pocket with ease. That's the first thing. So I've greatly enjoyed the shape, the size, the weight, the feel in my hands, the indexing, the pocket clip, the color. There are a lot of things that are great about this, all the way down to the fact that it charges via USB Type-C. But for me, the one little downfall, and it's fairly significant, but at the same time, to each their own. Personally, for me, I would like to see a bigger spread between the two modes. I find they're not different enough to really give me sort of that low mode, navigate around, look under the couch, yet at the same time, that blast of light when you need it. They're like close enough that it's not that major contrast. Now, you do get more throw with the 1000 lumen output. You do get a wider beam pattern. There are a lot of advantages to leaning forward on that 1000 lumen mode, but again, I think for the low mode, for me personally and how I use my flashlights, I would prefer it to be closer to maybe 150 lumens than the 300 on the low mode there. So not a big deal. Again, to each their own. I am very refreshed by this flashlight. That's the first thing. It's refreshing to have something sort of new and innovative and looks different and feels great, looks the part. That to me is wonderful. I love having a different mechanism. It adds a whole different level of enjoyment as a flashlight enthusiast. So to the people at Streamlight, very, very well done overall. To each their own on the tweaks. Maybe it's something in a future iteration could have some programming capabilities. Maybe you plug this thing into your computer and you can dial in that low mode. Who knows? But overall, I have to say, I do greatly enjoy this flashlight. So, all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. Hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.